A Quiet Place is about a family trying to survive in a world where they have to be completely silent. Yeah, that'll be easy with kids. It starts on day 89 with a torn down stoplight and an abandoned grocery store. And these kids are just running around unsupervised. I guess Reagan's deaf, so that's gonna be a thing. And I'm assuming this kid has some kind of ailment too. They all have to be completely quiet and use sign language instead of talking, but we don't know why yet. And this dumb kid tries to get a rocket from the shelf and his sister has to save it from falling. How have these people survived this long? Anyway, this is a family: Lee, Evelyn, Reagan, and Marcus. Apparently Bayou found something super scary and it's just a spaceship. Lee takes it away from him, takes the batteries out, and leaves it there because it's too loud. So he can't have just a rocket without the batteries. But like a dumb sister, Reagan gives it back to him, and he takes the batteries. So they're gonna walk like this instead of the dad in front and the mom in back? Okay then. They're crossing a bridge and Bayou decides this is a good time to put the batteries back into the rocket. So why can't they have any sound? Oh, that's why. Then it jumps to day 472. This is their home and they have all these cameras and research with a bunch of newspaper articles on what happened. But how did they print all these papers without the creatures destroying the printing presses? Have you ever heard a printing press? Those things are loud as shit. At least they're smart enough to live on a farm so they can grow food. Oh, I guess they decided to have another kid, because you know what the quietest thing ever is? A newborn baby. Good luck with that. At least they were smart enough to make a quiet box with oxygen for it. Not sure how safe that is, but okay. That night, Reagan and Marcus are playing Monopoly, and they accidentally knock the lantern over and start the game on fire. Which honestly is about the only way to end that stupid game. See how paranoid they all are? They think the creatures came, but it was just some raccoon, and it's mainly just to make a jump scare, which isn't worth it. Lee is fixing a hearing aid for Reagan, and Evelyn comes down and they listen to some music, which is the first time that any sound other than the sound of movement and score has been in this movie. Then we go to day 473. And Reagan goes into their old house and tries to go downstairs, but Lee stops her and gets pissed. I'm gonna guess that it's gonna be used for something that we're not allowed to see yet. He then tries to give her a hearing aid, but she refuses, so instead he goes and takes Mark out to learn survival stuff. And Reagan wants to go, but he tells her to stay home, so she gets pissed and we get blinded by lens flare. And then Reagan goes to her room and tries the hearing aid, and it actually works, so now she's off to somewhere. Lee and Marcus are by the river, and a fish flops into the water and Marcus freaks out. But apparently if they're by a constant sound that is loud enough, they can make some noise as long as it's quieter than the constant sound. Evelyn is in the basement washing clothes, and when she goes up the stairs, the bag gets caught on the nail and pulls it up. So does she want to bend the nail back down, or better yet pull it out? Nope, she's just gonna leave it there? Okay then. Lee and Marcus then go to a waterfall. Way to freak out your kid, man. Also, we're 38 minutes in, and these are the first words that were spoken. Oh, Reagan is going to her brother's grave, and they all take some time to be sad about Bayou.
Do you blame her for what happened?
It was no one's fault.
It was kind of her fault. So they're walking back home and see this creepy house and this old guy, and his, I'm assuming, wife got attacked and he was about to scream, and Lee tries to stop him, but he does it anyway. Couldn't he have just waited until they walked past? What a dick. Well, Evelyn's water broke and she's in the upstairs room of the house, so there's no way she's making it back to the hideout. So she goes back to the basement and steps on the nail that she should have pulled out of the stair. She flips the lights to emergency mode and then tries to go back upstairs, but one of those things are now in the house. If only there was someone else there that could have helped her. These hypersensitive things can't hear her breathing like this? Really? Anyway, it goes downstairs and we finally see what it looks like, and the way it hears is really cool. That was actually a really smart distraction, but she's still trapped in the house. To distract the creatures, Marcus lights off these fireworks, and the first one just looks awful. It's really obvious that they just put a firework effect over a shot of the corn. But this allows Lee to find her, and I guess she had her baby, who's not crying for some reason. And Marcus is still in the cornfield, and he hears one of those creatures, so he decides, what's the quietest way to get out of here? I'm just gonna go off the path and start pushing past all these corn stalks. What a stupid kid. Then the little moron runs into a tractor. So Lee is carrying Evelyn back to the bunker, and now the baby starts crying, so he puts him in the quiet box. Reagan finally gets back and sees Marcus's flashlight and stops to look at it. Then one of those creatures gets close to her, which causes her hearing aid to interfere with his hearing, so it just spazzes out and runs away. Well, they found its weakness. Then Evelyn beats herself up about Bayo again.
I could have carried him.
Or you could have walked behind them to make sure they stayed in line. Then Lee goes out looking for the kids, and now there's water running into the hideout from somewhere. And Evelyn wakes up to the room completely flooded with one of the creatures inside of it. And why is the lid off of the quiet box? Did Lee take it off, or did the creature? Why is it off? So she grabs a baby who is somehow not crying right now. Meanwhile, Reagan and Marcus are waiting on the silo, and Marcus falls through the roof, so Reagan jumps in to save him from sinking. Except being in corn doesn't cause you to sink unless it's being drained out, in which case, why is it being drained out? And in comes a creature, but Reagan's hearing aid spazzes it out, so it gets out by ripping through the metal wall. They can easily rip through metal. You got that? Okay. Also, why are they not sinking right now? Then Lee finds them and decides the best thing to do is hide in the truck instead of going to the hideout, so the creature attacks the truck, and even though it just ripped through a metal wall like a piece of paper, it can't tear through this truck roof. So Lee decides the best way to save them is to scream and then just stand there. Even though he could have thrown the axe to distract the creature away, screamed and then silently ran away, or about 5 other things. But nope, he's just gonna stand there and die. But whatever, the truck rolls to the house somehow and they go to the basement. And Reagan learns what an ass she's been being. Then the creature makes its way downstairs even though they weren't really making any noise. Reagan finally decides to turn her damn hearing aid back on, which causes the creature to spaz out again. How has no one figured this out before? Didn't they have like scientists or something to try to figure out what these creatures' weaknesses are? Anyway, this allows Evelyn to shoot it, which attracts more of them. Ready to see a cool monster fight? Well, screw you, movie's over. This really is a good movie and can be quite suspenseful at times. The acting is really good, even the child acting. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt do a great job playing parents who are trying to keep their children safe while dealing with the loss of one. Millicent Simmonds is believable for the most part as a kid who feels unappreciated by her father and feels responsible for her brother's death. And Noah Jude is okay in his role. Like, there are times where he overacts to things, especially when he's scared, which makes it kind of look fake, but for a child actor, he did pretty good. The special effects and sound design are awesome. The creatures look amazing with how they look real, but yet completely alien. I especially like the way it looks when it opens its head to hear, and how it sounds when you hear the way that they hear. Since this doesn't have a lot of dialogue, it relies on sounds and score to set the tone, which makes it really interesting. Some of the logic and decisions don't really make sense though, like having the youngest kid in the back of a line, or Reagan leaving her 9-month pregnant mother home alone. I don't know how they didn't get screwed over earlier. Don't forget to do the YouTube stuff, and thanks for watching.